Tonight on Fine Point, Tabs reporter Anthony Aguero on his boots on the ground reporting for the American border story. FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin points out the need for better background checks on members of our intelligence agencies. Parler founder John Mates on UK Labour's spy unit flagging social media posts about migrant hotels. Author Evan Sayet on divisions on the right over Israel's reoccupation of Gaza, and Libby Emmons plays headline roulette. All this and more tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Good evening and welcome to Fine Point. I'm Christian Hartsock, once again filling in for Chanel Rion. Last night, we talked with Alexis Wilkins about the American Border Story, or TABS, a new nonprofit media initiative with which I'm proudly associated, focused on amplifying the human cost of America's immigration crisis. Tonight, we bring you the next chapter in that story, not from Washington, not from a policy memo, but from a hidden trail camera on a dead-end road in the woods near Canada. TABS is part of a new wave of citizen journalism stepping into the void left by corporate media. The group was launched this year by a coalition led by Nicole Kipralov of media professionals and border reporters, including myself, determined to highlight the very real, often tragic impact of open border policies on American citizens. The goal is clear: show what the legacy media won't, amplify voices the press ignores, and bring light to the people and policies responsible for the crisis on both borders. TABS focuses not just on data, but on human stories, the families, ranchers, and law enforcement officers whose lives are upended by illegal immigration. Under President Trump, the U.S. is once again treating border security like the national survival issue that it is. The wall is being rebuilt, deportations are up, and ICE is no longer being told to stand down. But as progress returns to the southern border, a new, quieter threat is emerging to the north, and it's one most Americans haven't seen. That's where tonight's guest comes in. My TABS colleague, Anthony Aguero, is an independent journalist and regular contributor to the American Border Story, a true shoe-leather journalist with whom I've enjoyed the pleasure of traveling the country and capturing harrowing footage of the grisly urban aftermath of a wide-open border and hearing from victims who've had an unenviable front-row seat to the humanitarian crisis it has wrought. His latest video report offers a powerful on-the-ground update, not just from the desert borderlands we all expect, but from the forested backroads of the U.S.-Canada border. In the first half of Anthony's video, we see the wall being extended, steel going up where it was previously abandoned under Biden, crews back at work, gaps being closed. It's a visible sign of policy finally meeting action. But then the second half of the video takes us somewhere unexpected. Anthony obtained trail camera surveillance footage from the northern border, the location a dead-end road on the Canadian side that comes alarmingly close to U.S. soil. According to Anthony, this spot is a prime smuggling handoff zone. Vehicles pull up on the Canadian side, let out individuals, and within minutes they cross undetected into the U.S. There's no wall, no checkpoint, no sensors, just a gap, and a growing number of people quietly walking through it. This is the kind of story TABS was designed to surface and the kind of journalism that the mainstream press refuses to do. The group isn't a political operation, it's a media watchdog and human rights campaign rolled into one. They document, they expose, and they let the facts speak for themselves. And tonight, the facts are speaking loudly. This isn't just a southern crisis anymore. The northern border is now in play, and smugglers may be adjusting their tactics at least as fast as Washington is adjusting its policy. Joining us now is Anthony Aguero, who's been covering the border for years and brings us tonight's exclusive look at this northern corridor. Anthony, what did you see during your last visit to the southern wall?
Well, up on the southern border wall, down on the southern border, we are actually now seeing finally construction being taking place. There are multiple contracts currently right now being worked on. One is a 7-mile factor out of Hidalgo, Texas, that is now underway, and a 27-mile contract currently being worked on in Arizona. Currently, the footage that you are now showing is from Sunland Park, New Mexico, another contract that is quickly reaching a 1 mile stretch of new construction. As you can see right now, there are two sectors of this wall: the new wall construction and a previous wall that was put up by George Bush. That is nothing less than a thick chicken wire and was constantly being cut right through, where coyotes and cartel members were always pretty much breaching these areas and making their product or people come across very, very easily. Currently, they are planning on leaving both sets of walls, making it much easier for Border Patrol agents to be able to navigate and move around that area, and making it much harder for those trying to cross illegally, as there will be a buffer zone, as you can see right there in the middle, in between both walls, where Border Patrol will be able to maneuver and go back and forth at high speed rates once the construction is all said and done in that area, Christian.
Yeah, how much construction has resumed under President Trump, and what's the reaction from local officials, Anthony?
Well, like I said, currently there is a 7 mile stretch in Hidalgo, Texas. There is a 27 mile stretch construction underway in Arizona. And what we just saw right now in the Sunland Park, New Mexico, Santa Teresa area, that is a 1.7 mile stretch of new wall that is being erected as we speak right now.
So let's turn now to the northern footage. What first led you to this remote dead-end road? Was it a tip-off or something you discovered in the field?
Right, we were tipped off to this location in particular. We started digging into some of the locations where apprehensions were currently happening. We narrowed it down to a few locations up north. I won't get into specifics for security reason, as we are traveling up there in the next couple of days, and we are going to have a 45-day excursion out there, bringing firsthand look and accounts into what is currently happening in this area that you see right now, Christian. We were able to retrieve passports from people coming in from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Syria, just to name a few. This area is very, very, very open. All you have in between Canada and the United States is that little stream of water that you see here on your screen. And anybody that is well equipped, meaning well prepared with the proper gear that can come across into the United States, can in fact be camping out in this remote area and continue trekking down south further into the country. Now, what we realized while we were down there was that there are actual off-road trails, Christian, that are being used by criminal organizations now operating not just south of the border, but it looks like they have maneuvered and made their way to our northern border with Canada. You have the Chinese, you have the Russians, and you have the Mexican drug cartels all operating out of the northern border, pushing product into the United States. They are using these off-road trails previously used by American citizens to go hunting, off-roading, whatever the case may be. They are now being exploited by criminal organizations. In fact, there are even off-road hotels in these areas, Christian, and even bars for entertainment, in which these individuals are jumping on fancy ATVs, UTVs, quads, dirt bikes, pretty much anything they can jump on the off-road course, and they proceed to move south into the United States up to 100 miles from what we've been able to track. And so that is why it is very important for us to make our way back up north and be able to bring firsthand account and much more clear indications of what is currently happening out there, sir.
Now, describe a little more, to the extent that you can, what the trail camera captured. How recent is the activity and how organized does it appear?
Right. So I am working with a group of Marines. These Marines are actually retired veterans, and I previously have taken them down to the southern border. After we did a border tour with them, they then began doing this up north, basically in their own backyard. It piqued their interest, so they started doing reconnaissance as to what was happening up there. And so we were able to pinpoint a specific location up north, and we put up trail cams so that while we were not out there, we were able to pick up on some of the activity that is happening after hours. Now, for most American citizens that are used to going camping, we all very well know that once the sun goes out, you might stay up another hour, hour and a half by the bonfire, hanging out, telling stories, and then it's lights out. Everybody goes to sleep, and that happens fairly early. What we're seeing out here is cars and vehicles and even UTVs, like I mentioned earlier, driving at alarming speeds, Christian, and it only leads us to believe, we can only speculate that when you are traveling in the darkness like it is out there in these forests, as there is no moonlight coming across or coming into the immediate area where you're driving in through, you must be wearing some kind of night vision goggles in order to be moving and driving these UTVs at such fast rates out there. There are also a lot of moose and bears to pretty much watch out for. But we noticed that vehicles were coming into this particular dead end where it is very, very hard to get to. It does an excruciating number on your personal vehicle if you ever decide to go up there. And there's frankly nothing, absolutely nothing that would drive the motive for you to want to get out there in such a remote, pretty much dangerous area where you can be out of communication, as there is no cell phone service out there. There is literally, unfortunately, no border patrol. There are no sensors, no cameras. There's absolutely nothing. The only reason we were connected was because we had a Starlink system with us. Otherwise, you are pretty much out in the dark. There is also a treaty. I can't think of it right now, but there's actually a treaty, Christian, where our frequencies are by law not allowed to go into Canadian territory. Therefore, Border Patrol agents are very limited to the scope of what they can use to be able to communicate effectively back to home base. If you're a Border Patrol agent working the northern Canadian border, you know very well you can't even be carrying a radio in that area, because by law, our frequencies are not allowed to go into the Canadian side. So it is a very tricky situation, and something that the American border story is definitely going to be digging into, sir.
Anthony Aguero for the American Border Story. Anthony, I look forward to joining you back in the field.
Thank you so much, Christian.
And coming up, the FBI agent behind the Mar-a-Lago raid. Where is he now? Piloting Kash Patel's Gulfstream jet. FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin joins us.